I've had the luxury to see, learn from Chris to start. I think Chris might have been the first person I ever saw do technical analysis in my life. So kind of the coolest thing, like the first chart markup I think I ever saw was Chris Derrick. And so that just says so much. He kind of set the tone, the rhythm on how I approach the market. There's a certain, if you guys know Chris, there's a level of tranquility, calmness that comes with the way in which he does things. But I want to make sure to really kind of set the ground for this conversation today. If this is your first time on a call, this Monday night session that we do, we approach this a little bit different. We kind of take a podcast type vibe. Sometimes we share some screen, go over some charts, go over some ideas. But more than anything, this is amazing because you guys are going to get a really unique perspective into the whole trading landscape. We're talking about someone who literally broke through on the streaming, live trading, live education side of things, alongside Mike Miles. This is the person that was, and I do not say this lightly, was the pioneer for live trading education. Honestly, one of the few first in the world, but definitely here with us. And so with that being said, Chris is someone who it hits different on the way in which he moves. I'd say this is a selfless human being, a servant leader is probably the best way to say it. And, someone who I'd say is multidimensional. So you guys, if you're not taking notes, this is definitely the one to do so. And I'm humbled to introduce my brother, Christopher Derrick. What's going on, bro? How you feeling, man?
Good, man. Good, man. That introduction is phenomenal. I appreciate you so much. And before we get into that, let me talk about you a little bit. And let me just say how much that we're incomplete. No, hold on. You gotta, like, for the work that you do, I'm being dead serious on this because I've watched you from the beginning, and honestly, in the beginning, I knew you as just a person that was just grinding out in the business. I know you came in for your trading, but to be able to watch you grow and to like hopefully you smell the roses when it comes to your entire journey, because you've increased exponentially when it comes to your service, when it comes to your skill set. And it's just phenomenal to be able to watch the impact you've been able to create, in the English community and the Spanish community. And for you to even create these sessions for everybody, it shows that you're also a servant leader too as well. So that's the reason why anytime that you ever ask for anything, I'm always here because I see what you
You're
do
always
for
down.
others.
Nah, I appreciate
So
you, bro. You're a G.
appreciate you, bro.
And I think, it's kind of how it started. It's funny. I think we look at this, or some people might look at kind of like hosting these sessions and having these conversations publicly as something that might be out of the ordinary. But I feel like this is kind of the foundation of how we started. It was kind of just like, yo, like let's just mastermind. Let's just have these conversations. Someone knows something, so let's talk about it in front of a computer and have people join us. So man, I appreciate you for real. And but we got a lot to be compressed, and we got about 45 minutes to do so. So guys, hold on tight. I've seen you kind of take on a whole bunch of different lanes, right? And that's something that you're really good at doing. And I think it's because you have certain principles and certain frameworks that you kind of apply, whether it's trading, whether it's business, whether it's just a leadership communication. I know you do other, I wouldn't even call them hustles, because I think that would kind of be like undermining what you do. But you're really good at buying and selling things and seeing things long term, collection wise. But I think there's some like foundation work that allows you to do a lot of different things. I don't know. I feel like oftentimes I wouldn't recommend people to do a lot of different things all at once. And so I kind of want to start there. How do you kind of take on a new skill set? Well, actually, let me take one step back. Why do you take on a new skill set or a new income stream? Like, what was that first groundbreaking moment for you as an entrepreneur? Like, what was that like? All right, you know what? I think I should do something a little bit different now. How did that start for you?
That's a good question. And not to get it twisted, and if my cat's making noise, I apologize. But everything, I know this sounds kind of crazy, like, but my entire background before all this was interrogations, so I was in the army for like 6.5 years. And so I did interrogations, and they talked about, all these different avenues of pattern life information about people and everything. And so the main thing's always been the main thing. Like my main thing is this skill set, and the main thing is residual income. And
Mhm.
so I always made sure that everything else that was extra, like it's kind of like moving 10 steps ahead. It's like, for instance, if you get into the fashion game, right?
Yeah.
And you're getting that, the only reason why I got into that is because people are very surface level materialistic, and so I noticed, I was like, okay, I'm always wearing suits, or I'm always doing, wearing professional stuff. But for some reason, like, people take people more seriously if they're walking essentials,
Yeah.
and so what I did was I got into something that
No,
helped
we're both wearing that.
there you go. So I was like, it's weird because, like, if you look at the younger generation or other people, that's like the new suit, So
Yeah.
I was like, if I wear
Yeah.
this for some reason, I could talk about the law of attraction, law of vibration, power of subconscious mind. But if I'm wearing this, they'll listen more. So I learned all that stuff from interrogations, was like, how do we get into people's mindsets and to shift their paradigm and to make it easier for them? If people are open to recreating their self-image, then there'll be more doors and more opportunities. So everything that I do that's extra always goes into the main thing. So like the camera stuff, the content stuff.
Um,
Yeah, I got into that because so I don't have to have my own creative director.
yeah.
So it was all for the one thing, you know.
That makes sense. At the end of the day, it was really you're building out one or two main incomes, and then all these side skills kind of compound together to do it. And I think that's really important in the beginning. In the beginning, I feel like whether it's you're doing trading, and that's like the full thing that you're focusing on, or whether it's entrepreneurship, you're wearing all the hats until you can start to delegate certain things, and things can
Sure.
get a lot easier. And I think now we get at a point where like we kind of want to delegate too early. But anyways, that's a business conversation. I want to hone in on the trading side of things for today. Because I know we can do a whole conversation on that. But so what was that like for you? I know, and let me know, guys, here in the chat right here in the comments. Let me know, when was the first time you took a trade? I know, Chris, you've been doing this for a hot sec, bro. What was that? What was that experience like for you, bro? What was like that trading? How, once you know, like, all right, I'm gonna do this for a minute.
That's why I love these sessions, bro. The questions you ask, it brings you down memory lane.
It's
Um,
getting
it was
started.
2000. It was 2015. I remember I was like June of 2015. I remember I have a voice memo reaching out to a mentor, begging for help. I was like, I'll do whatever it takes to learn the skill set. And so I knew I was getting out of the army April of 2016.
Uh-huh.
So the things that I learned was I need to grind as if I'm getting out next month, but I don't know what I'm gonna do. So I
Yeah.
kept seeing trading, and I kept seeing it. I kept seeing these black and green charts. And I was like, the hell is this? Like, I started seeing things on YouTube. I started seeing people do it on social media. And I said, you know what? I'm that type of person. And it's a good and bad thing, where it's like I'm gonna do everything on my own. It's a
Mhm.
good and bad thing. For all the independent people out there, it's also a bad thing. Remember that. You need mentorship, like you need to connect to a community. And so I ended up downloading MT4, found a way to download it onto the Mac, because at that time, you had
It
to
was
figure out,
impossible. It was, you needed to have like
you got
connection.
to hack into NASA. Like you got to like
Exactly.
sit there and program. And of course, the Asian figured it out, right?
Yeah.
But
You said it, man.
and and side note, by the way, that's how Christopher Terry found me. I did a video on how to put the harmonic scanner onto the Mac, and he called me. I don't know how he got my number, but he called me. I was on gate guard duty in the military,
Wait,
and he called
what?
me. Yeah, yeah, he called me and he said, "Hello." And at that time I didn't watch my language. I was like, "Who the F is this?" Like, and he's like, "It's Chris Tag, I'm Marcus Live." Like, and I was like, "I am
Oh my God, no way.
sorry. Like, I apologize." Like, and he's like, "Is it okay if we use this
You were
video on how to?"
already in then.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So
okay,
I'm
okay.
sorry, I'm jumping around, but like that's actually how I got in connection with Chris
All
Terry,
right,
was
all
that
right, cool,
video.
cool, cool.
But
Man, that,
anyways, so the first trade, I downloaded MT4 onto my computer. I downloaded MT4 onto my phone, and I remember putting $200 into an account, and trading involves risk, results not guaranteed. You know, everybody understands. And so I was around all my buddies, and I told everybody, I was like, guys, this is it. I seen people make a lot of money with this stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And then $200, and within 14 seconds, I was over leveraging. Within no, not 40 seconds. Within, it was like less than 10 seconds, I lost $14. So I remember, because I saw 186. It's always stuck in my mind. And so 186 or 185, something like that. And so I was like, I looked at everybody. Everybody's like, no, this is too risky. Cut it. And maybe my Filipino background and my family loving gambling, but I was like, if I could lose that in 10 seconds, I could make that in
10 seconds. Yeah. I know how
so
that
that
is, man.
that's when I got addicted. It wasn't a win. It was a $15 loss, you know. And I got addicted to it because I wanted my time. You know, I wanted to be able to be with, you know, I missed my daughter's first through her 5th birthday, and you know, I was just like, I need to figure something out. And so that's how I got addicted. That was my first trade experience. A whole bunch of people watching me behind me, you know, because that's how we traded before. Was like everybody
You didn't
watching.
have this. You didn't really have Zoom.
No, I had baby pips. I
Yeah,
studied through baby pips.
that's all you got. You didn't have Skype. You didn't got none of it. I think maybe Skype was a thing, or like Google Hangouts or something. I forgot
Uvu.
what it was at the
Uvu.
time. Uvu.
Was
Oh
it?
man, crazy. You're definitely aging yourself. But so
Well, I'm
you know,
aging, but I'm not aging. So
there you go. You're aging yourself. But all right. So I know there's a lot of people here. You know, the reason I asked earlier, when did everyone start trading? I saw most people were from 2020 to 2022, right? That's kind of the date that I saw. And you know, most people, you don't know, no one really starts trading and you know it's a full-time thing. Like there's maybe 0.0001%. And if you tried to go do this full-time from the beginning, good luck. That's not going to go how you think it's going to go. This is one of the most, I think trading is like, if anything that I've ever done, it's definitely not what I thought it was going to be.
it's really weird.
It's nothing like you think it's going to be. And so that's kind of the intention behind, you know, what we do every Monday is, one, set the proper expectations, two, create just the right roadmap for what this can look like for people. And you know, you were doing interrogations, you know, we both have a military background. You actually did military stuff. I definitely didn't do any of that. And so we come into this, and a lot of people either have full-time jobs, part-time jobs, or looking to transition into something. Did you you know, you leave the military and then you start and you're trading at the same time? What was that transition like? Did you work other jobs? Did you have other income coming in? How did that go?
Yeah, I made this goal before I started trading that I would get out of the military if I doubled my income residually. Okay. And so what I did was I doubled my income residually, and I had over $40,000 in a brokerage account.
Oh
And
wow.
so yeah, that didn't last that long, by the way. So for everybody that thinks that, and that's a different story. But and so I got out. I was like, okay, cool. I doubled my. This is why I tell people all the time, don't quit your job, please.
Yeah, super important.
Please don't. That's so stupid. I'm just kidding. You're not stupid. It's just don't do it. It's not smart. Okay, but I needed something that was coming in, and I knew for myself, especially in the beginning, that if I had at least that coming in residually, and I had some money inside my brokerage account that was at least $40,000, and then I'd be set, you know, to
Yeah.
create some type of cash flow. Now, mind you, what happened in that transition, April 2016, I got out the military, and I think within a week or two, it was just another whole story, but I gave somebody my password to my MT4 to use. You know who, but like it was a person that was traveling the world and showing trading, and I was the trader,
Oh
and
no.
that person was marketing, and so I'm not gonna say the name. Mind you, that was the money I was gonna use to get custody of my child.
Oh God.
And so
Okay.
remember, do not ever give your password out, like
No
ever.
passwords to nobody about anything.
And so I lost it all. Like, well, I didn't lose it all. He lost it all in a trade, and I was just I was in shock. And so I ended up having to go into finding a job, which was at that time Uber and Lyft. So what I would do was I would literally drive from Fort Hood, Texas, and I would Uber and Lyft. This is when it first came out, by the way. So I made bank
It's
Uber and
good. Yeah,
Lyfting.
yeah, it was good bread right off the rip.
So like I was in Austin, Texas too. So you do ACL, all that stuff, everything. And so I was making on the weekends an extra like anywhere from $800 to $1,000 a week, a weekend. But I was driving till like 4 o'clock in the morning, by the way. So
Yeah, you're just killing.
military background, I was just like, I might as well go for another hour. And then I was like, I might as well go for another hour.
Oh,
I
no.
might as well go.
Yeah.
So my goal was to Uber and Lyft and to stack up and to not think about trading or building the business. My goal was to focus on stacking up income
Mhm.
so I could take care of the bills and have more. And
Yeah.
I would use that time frame. I know this sounds kind of funny to a lot of people, to visualize. I was driving, visualizing constantly. I would drive to the richest areas in Lakeway in Austin, Texas area. Like I would purposely be around wealthy areas and I would visualize. And I actually picked up a trader who had a helicopter pad and had a gated house
Uh-huh.
and everything. I
Okay.
swear I thought he was a drug dealer at first because he's just like this white dude that just came out, and he told me that he traded, and but he makes a lot, and
Mhm.
he's the one that told me it's weird what you attract. He's like, it doesn't matter if it takes you 10 years to learn. He's like, just don't quit. And that's where I got that saying of one day could take away 7 years of pain. Like, it came
Mhm.
from him. So it was a sign because I was like, what do you do if you don't mind me asking? And I was scared that he was gonna be like, bro, I'm gonna
Cocaine.
or or drug dealers. But yeah, I saw wealthy people that traded futures, commodities, foreign
Mhm.
exchange that were at a higher level, So that's what I did. That was my only job. And then yeah, that was it. Uber and lifting at that time. And then that was it. It didn't last that long, by the way. I hate working.
Yeah, no, I definitely understand that. But I would say that going from a job to entrepreneurship and kind of experiencing that freedom and then kind of getting that ripped away from you, having
I
to then
slept in my
back.
car. I slept in my car, everybody. Like for real, like the grind. I couldn't afford like at that time I couldn't afford hotel. Like I was in debt. And so like I was taking care of a lot of things. So I would literally drive to Austin, Texas, because I lived in Fort Hood, Texas at the time. I would literally drive for those couple of days. I would sleep in my car because I couldn't afford hotels. And I just grinded it out.
TLX, no TLX back then. But
Nah.
and this is 2016.
Yeah, it was yeah, 2016.
So all right, because this is the value in the story. Like, these stories aren't just for so we feel nice. It's so that like you understand like how you mentally have to keep a certain level of fortitude, relentlessness, a little bit of delusion, I think is necessary. We can maybe call it just belief, but going
Illusion for
from
sure.
that and kind of just experiencing a little bit of freedom and then getting back to it, did that kind of obviously that made you just appreciate being able to live outside of, let's call it the matrix. Do you feel like that kind of put a fire in your ass?
It did. And for anyone that hasn't been in the military, I think the reason why I attracted so much in my life is because when you're struggling, it's free to be grateful. And when you're struggling, it's free to visualize. And when you're struggling, it's free to feel what it feels like to be successful. And being from the military, even if I slept in my car and I was driving, I wasn't in the military. So my level of gratitude was like so high. And so
Feel
I,
that.
I didn't like I wasn't there. I wasn't upset. I wasn't there sleeping in my car like, man, this sucks. I would wake up, I would literally park at like by the lake, and I would sit there, I'd wake up and I'd be like, this is nice. Like I'm free. I'm free. And so I think that's what helped attract a lot of things because the story of my life, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't make any sense.
I
So
think
I
I
was just
think
grateful to be out in the military.
I like that you said that it doesn't make any sense, but it doesn't make any sense now because of kind of where you are. And but most people, I think a lot of people kind of experience not what you went through, but hardships, but they can't say that their life doesn't make sense because they don't continue right? It's kind of like you almost get just crushed and then you just settle and then you kind of just go through it. And I feel like a lot of victim mindset comes into play, a lot of feel like the world kind of owes you. And so, I've got to give you your flowers for just kind of going through that because, losing that stack of cash that you didn't even lose, that was for literally for your child. That was the whole point of that money. How did your trading suffer or propel when you experience, fat losses, like, a lot of your savings, what was supposed to keep you consistent? Like, how did you approach trading at that moment? Did it take you some time to, kill those bad behaviors? Because I know what it's like to lose money that I didn't think I was going to lose. And then all of a sudden you're trying to make it back and, you're breaking your rules. So what was that process like, going through this shitstorm and then now having to like actually trade, like, how you're supposed to? What was that like? Like, what was the timeline in that growth process?
Long time, like a long time. The thing was, it's funny you say what good and bad came from it. The good that came from it was that I was desperate. I had no choice. Like I literally was at a place where I had no choice. And I think when you start to track this, manifest this, you get put in a position where you have no choice. And so I was like,
Mhm.
if I don't flip these accounts, if I don't make it in trading, then I won't be able to take care of child support. I won't be able to pay for like my family, my loved ones. And so like I had no choice. There's nothing else that was left. And so what it did was it pushed me to go harder in my back testing and to study the charts for hours. Like if I wasn't talking to people or wasn't driving or whatever, even after that was done, you could ask anybody. I was staring at charts all the time. I was always
Mhm.
staring at charts on my computer. I was always on my phone, and I was just like, getting there. So I was getting better at entries. I was getting better at trade setups. I was getting better at knowing when things were going to happen. It pushed me to find trading view. I remember when I first saw trading view and I shared it with a couple people. I wasn't the founder of
Wait,
trading
where were you marking up charts? MT4?
view.
Were you
At first,
marking up?
everything was MT4. Everything was MT4 on my laptop. The you could hear the noise when you press the X.
Yeah.
You know, so I was doing that, and then I found trading view, and I thought I was like the coolest thing in the world. It still is. And I
Still
was
is.
like,
Yeah.
whoa, you could change colors. Like but no. So the
It's the
bad
little
thing
things,
was,
man.
yeah,
Yeah.
the bad thing was I was just continuing with my aggression because I don't,
Mm,
it was a pattern and it was a paradigm of I got to flip to make more, even though as a chairman, and when I first hit chairman, I was like I still was in that bad habit of like, let me put this much
yeah.
1 to 1,000 leverage. Like if I'm the best, I'll just risk everything.
Mm.
It was just very toxic. It wasn't good. It,
Yeah.
it was good a lot of times, but it wasn't good long term.
I think confidence in trading is, oh man, I want us to go into this. It's not what you think it is. And I like what you said, there was aggression towards it because you start to get so much knowledge, and you build up, all of this proof for yourself that, certain patterns, certain entry models work for you well. And so all of a sudden, you're seeing this happen over and over again. You're actually, you're trading well. And then, we build confidence and we mistake confidence, with, we use confidence incorrectly in trading. I think that's one of the most common like misconceptions with confidence, where because you have confidence with your plan, you start to take bigger risks when
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like none of it is in our control. Like none of it. So we can be as good as we think we are, but at the end of the day, like we don't do anything to the market. We just
True.
trade our best.
And with a confidence thing to caveat on that too as well, I felt that I owed everybody on this call something. Like being the first educator, like I felt like even if I proved myself, I had this idea of like, okay, I got to keep flipping. I got to keep proving.
Yeah,
Like I
because
got to keep.
you had that crazy like you kind of became iconic because of that flip that you did, what, in 2017 or something?
I was like, I have to continue doing this.
Yeah.
You know, I have to make this amount in a day. You know, and people were like, bro, like, but you're doing good. Like, you could literally do proper risk management. I was like, just shut up. You know,
Yep. So
until I remember I made a lot and I called Chris and I was bragging a little bit. I was like, Chris, and I thought it was cool. He yelled at me.
little did
He
you
just
know.
he destroyed me. He said, I'll wipe my with that. He's like, this, like, think about this. He's like, what are you doing? Like, I was like, Chris, I did this though. He goes, no one cares. Like, what are you doing?
That's the most Chris
Like,
thing.
he's like, it's not gonna last. You know, you think you're cool? I was like, I don't know. I just did the
I
biggest flip of my
did.
life. You know, like, I was like, dude, this is like, you know, like, and he's just like, no, it's not. Like, you have to humble yourself or else you will get humbled, which it did happen.
Mhm. And like that's the thing I want to talk about, because a lot of times we think the mentors have the answers, and a lot of times they do. But you had arguably, one of the best kind of mentors, at least on the mental side of things, just because Chris has done very, very well for himself. I don't actually know another trader that does what he does, personally, at least. And you got to hear from his mouth, like, hey, like, this is what's going to happen if you don't do this. So can you talk a little bit about that, where it's like, okay, even though you're hearing from insane traders tell you exactly what's going to happen if you don't change, knowing now what what would you tell, like, someone that wants to get better at trading, that is good at technical analysis, but you can tell their ego's inflated. Like, you can tell that they're on cloud
Um,
nine when, like, you're just a little minnow.
if I had to tell myself or whatever, for everybody here on this call, I hope you guys take this part seriously the most. I wish I listened sooner.
Yeah.
Like, I wish that I didn't understand this until I started getting to my faith with God and with Jesus and everything. And the thing that hit me was that humility is the key for progression. You know, did he leave or is he still here?
No, I'm here, bro. Here.
Okay. I was like, he dipped on me. But no, so I didn't understand that humility. Like, I could have had quantum leaps if I just shut up and listen, you know. And there's so many things that he was trying to protect me from. So many things that so many mentors were trying to protect me from. But for some reason, ego, feeling the need to impress everybody, especially being in that position where everybody's watching you and you're doing London session 5 days a week at 2 a.m. Eastern constantly. And then you're traveling the world. Like, I didn't even have time to really take care of myself because they're like, we need you in Costa Rica, we need you here, or we need you in Peru, we need you in Colombia. So, like, I went through that season where I thought that I had to figure everything out on my own, not realizing that I
Mhm.
had all these mentors that were there for me to help me out this entire time. And so I would have listened a lot sooner. You know, I would have listened to advice. I would have listened to criticism, uh, because all we're doing is taking, like, either you could go into the promised land or you could do 40 years in the desert.
Sheesh.
And I had to go through that stupid desert, man.
Yeah, you kill me, man. I had to change up my audio setup here real quick. 1 second.
No, you're
Um,
good.
I had to go to there real quick. Um, all right, so let me get set up here. Man, this whole technological, trying to make it
It's
all
okay.
nice and fancy, but gotta do a couple things. Let me know if I'm blurry. I feel like I'm probably blurry right
No,
now.
you're good. You're good. But no, there is a
You
shortcut
hear
to
me?
success. It's just by listening. That's all it is, guys.
You're talking, Chris, but I can't hear you.
Oh, can you hear me?
Hello?
Perfect. Well, yeah, I can hear you.
All right, perfect. Straight. All right, so with that being said, Chris, when did you feel like, as a trader, how do you define making it as a trader? What does that mean to you?
when it becomes when it's not two separate lives, like
Ooh,
when it's
can you
just
can you go in on that?
when it's immersed into your life, like rather than separating and being like, okay, I trade, I do business, and I do this.
Yeah.
When it's immersed into your who you are as a person, where it's just unconscious competence, where it's subconscious. Like for me now, I know from taking the time away from actively trading every single day was so key because I just built a routine
Hmm.
where I said I only will take a trade or focus on a trade if this is my steps. And if I only see this, and if I don't, then I don't. And to have that
Hmm.
healthy relationship where you don't have to trade all the time, before I used to be like a crackhead, I'd be like, market's open. Like, it's open, you
Yeah.
know? It's just like, I don't know. So when it becomes part of your life where it becomes just like as like I said before, like brushing your teeth,
Hmm.
you know, using the bathroom, or it's just normal,
Yeah.
and you don't have to tell everybody about it all the time. You don't have to tell everybody like, guys, I'm about to enter into trade. Like I'm about to do this.
Right.
Where people don't know, like you just do it.
Yeah. I like that perspective. I think if my camera's blurry, y'all let me know. I'll have Nance come and help me out here
You're
in a
good.
second.
You're
All right,
good.
cool. So I like that you said that it becomes very natural. It's part of your identity. And I
Yeah.
think you make it as a trader before you might have the results that you want. I really think that you can quote unquote make it. I think we all define success a little differently in trading. And I actually would like to go in on this side of this topic because we've had the luxury of traveling quite a bit the last few years. And we've kind of noticed different like costs of living over the world. And trading is one of those incomes where you don't have to be in where your hometown to do this,
No,
right? You can live in Medellin, Colombia, where the average citizen makes $250 a month,
like
$300 a month.
Ecuador too.
You
Ecuador
could
is have
same Peru. For example, like right now I'm in Thailand, and the average income here is like a little under $1,000 a month. I think it's like 800 a month. And so all of a sudden it's like you kind of create this arbitrage. Like you don't need to match or do some crazy numbers to live a specific quality of life, depending on what it is that you want to live. Um, so how has like lifestyle changed for you, not in terms of what you have, but in how you see things?
yeah. You realize that like everything is in arm's reach, you know, like
Yeah.
uh like trading, being around the world, experiencing different cultures. At the end of the day, we're all the same. Like either like you need to eat food, you have family, you have loved ones, you go watch movies, you go to the gym. I've noticed traveling all over the world, it's the same thing everywhere. And
Hmm.
it's like the human mind or whoever made rules based off of what they value within different cultures and different cities. So that's why when I went to Europe for the first time, and I was like, oh sweet, I'm in Barcelona, I'm in Spain, so it's probably gonna be like
That was my
cheaper.
dream. That was my dream city, man.
And I went, I
Barcelona.
was like, what? Euros? I was like, I thought I was about to, I'm like, I did not budget for that. I didn't think this through.
Yeah.
Um, but then you go to Czech Republic, and you're like the average income I think is like $250 to $500 a month. So it made me realize
Yeah.
that money is not real. Like it's just it's a frequency. And I'm glad that we're even having this call because I've been going back into those roots.
Hmm.
My goal is how do I go back to that Christopher Derrick that was sleeping on a floor, that is figuring everything out about trading and then manifested everything that has happened. When you get to a certain level of success, you think that those little small things and those small details aren't as important to you anymore when it should be the most important thing. So
Yeah.
I know that I hope I answered, but like it just taught me money isn't real. Like
It really is like kind of a glitch. I think that's the one. I agree with you 100%. I think trading gives you a different perception on money. You're I mean, I think we become kind of detached and like it almost doesn't make it like what you thought you knew doesn't make sense anymore, and then what you think it is also doesn't make any sense either. And what I mean by that is, like, all of a sudden you kind of become the Fed, where you have like the printing power. And
Yeah.
it's not based on all of the things and all the ways that we had done it before. And so when it comes to like this kind of skill, I think, and this is crossing between different concepts, but we all have this expectation with college and university where it's like, all right, 4 to 6 years, and then you get some type of job, right? Then you start to make some type of income, and that's okay, right? Like, we all collectively have been programmed our whole lives to understand this college thing can take 4 to 6 years. After that, I'll have some type of income, maybe. And then from there, you have your foot in the door to a career, right?
Yeah.
Everyone can kind of agree on that idea. And we're like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Then you have trading, where like that's not the consensus. Like that's not the perception of the skill. And it could take you 4 to 6 years to ever see anything. But from there, it could be astronomical. And so, you kind of were one of the first, at least, locally, that I knew, and definitely online, but to get into the trading space and to kind of like, you didn't know how long it was going to take. We didn't know what was normal. Like, how long should it take to learn something like this? And so how do you think expectations have changed throughout the years on like how fast it should take or how fast it can be done? And, what would you tell someone that's just starting or that maybe has already been in for like 4 years?
That's a good question. And that's actually, I didn't think of it that way before, of like how we didn't have that support. Like we didn't have we didn't have boot camps, in a live session,
No, no.
No. And so I think what it has done, this might not be popular opinion. I don't know if I should say this.
Oh, no, you got to say it now for sure.
I think it's made everybody weak
Mm.
because
Oh, let's go. Okay, talk to me.
no, I'm being dead serious because no one dreams anymore. Like the thing was, like from myself, Mike Miles, Jordan Morgan, shout out to DFW Trade House. Uh, we didn't accept mediocrity. Like we didn't accept like we're just gonna see what happens.
Mhm.
Like we're gonna take from this. Like
Yeah.
we're gonna like there's this much within the markets. Like we're gonna take from this.
Mhm.
And I
I
think
love that.
like
I love that.
that delusion became such a huge belief level that that's what we attracted. That was the frequency that we're on, because it doesn't make any sense how myself or Mike Miles can influence so many people that had nothing to do with ourselves. So, like it just happened. And so it's
Yeah.
that delusion thing. So I don't think, besides your calls and besides your Go Live sessions and a couple other people, that no one's talking about like having that true belief in what you really want to create. A lot of times people are doing this trading space and you're just like, maybe you should try working out a little bit. And you take that same concept into like trading. And so like if you take that same concept to trading, then you're not gonna have results. There's some people on this call that aren't even in the platform yet because they're just like, I don't really see it as a priority to even learn how to trade. Okay, cool. And no matter what, the work that you do today or the work you do 6 months from now is still going to be the same amount of work.
Yep.
So you might as well start now. And so for people that come into this and say, I'm successful, I'm capturing my piece of the market every single day. The only thing that's going to change is my lot size. And you have that mentality. That's the reason why I think that for that first season, it breeded, even though we didn't have the foundation that we have right now, it breeded some psychotic traders, some successful traders. Like,
Okay.
but we failed forward really fast. Like the way that we failed forward was we fell down the mountain and we just kept falling.
Yeah.
So we figured it out. And I think what we did was we compressed the time of going through the trials and tribulations faster than everybody else. And I think a lot of people are trying to not go through those things. And there's ways to, avoid certain risks or whatever.
Mhm.
But I think you got to be like, you know, safely aggressive. I don't even know if that's a thing, but like you got to.
I know what you mean. I would say that it's a double-edged sword, kind of the having more assistance, having more help, having more support sometimes here, I'll give you guys an example. When you get injured and you, let's say, injure your ankle or your knee, I'll give you my example. I dislocated my knee twice, my right knee, tore whatever, how much trash. And if you, let's say you get crutches, what starts to happen is you start to lean on your other leg. And you start to lean on it so much that actually builds up stress. And then you actually, a lot of times you end up injuring your other leg because you're putting so much pressure on that. And so all of a sudden what was your strength becomes your weakness as well. And in the trading space, sometimes having, not that it's like the mentorship side of things isn't meant to substitute your work. It's only meant to compress time, but time can only be compressed if you put force behind it. So
that's a bar too.
So that's where I want us to focus on. It's, you know, the guides that you have, the people that you have in your corner, they're not meant to replace the work. They're just meant to, you know, kind of compress the perspective. And so what you said, man, makes a lot of sense because, you know, us going through it, the mentorship and the guidance was definitely like, it was less. And it did make it more frustrating. I think it made it much more frustrating, but because then we were kind of forced to go and dig and deep, and like we're kind of forced to just like, let's go explore. Like we just have no choice but to go and explore. And so now you don't need to explore as much because it's like, yo, here's the path. Like this is it, and just go, just go through it, please. But because now you know that there's a path, it's like we almost kind of, I think, underestimate the excuse me, the work. Does that make sense?
That's true. It makes perfect sense.
My bad, guys. But so I'm gonna make sure we're good on time right now. Hold up. All right, we're cool.
We have 7 minutes.
So man, I feel like we're just getting started. That's hilarious. I think we could have done this one for a couple hours. Maybe we'll have to do it in a different setting. But to wrap up, you know, I know you have some of your strengths that, you know, we talked about, things that I see. And I mean, a lot of things that I asked you too, because it's kind of weird. It's like, hey, what are your strengths? You're like, I don't want to answer that. That's kind of, you know what I'm saying? And so it feels something kind of strange sometimes. But one of the things that you have is discipline. And I've seen, that's like probably one of the first things I've ever noticed about you is just discipline. And that's probably the most important. That's like one of my top 3 words for sure in my life, if not like top 2, is discipline. And for me, I think that's my only goal in trading. Like I don't have number goals, I don't have percentage goals ever. My only and my one goal is to be disciplined to my plan, and that's it. How did you build that up? How did you build up discipline for yourself?
It took a while, honestly, because I feel like the most disciplined people are the ones that, like before, are the most overthinkers, like the ones that overthink the most. Yeah, you gotta remember, like the thorn on your side is what makes you great, because then all you want to do is get better because of that thorn. You know, so if you suck at discipline and you're a lazy person and you procrastinate, God allowed that to happen so that way you study more than everybody else about discipline. You know, and then you get the edge because hard work beats talent every single day. You know, so I
write it off my mind.
Yeah, so like it literally was, I was a lazy person, I was a procrastinator, I was this, and I was tired of it, and I realized that discipline creates freedom. You know, I like what Alex Ramosi talks about, how your daily actions is far greater than your goals. You know, because all you can control is what you do. And so I got more discipline because I wasn't disciplined, because I sucked at discipline. And so all these biohacks and all these things that I studied for a reason, because it was my weakness. You know, so I like, even for right now, I'm studying so much about stoicism. I'm studying so much about how to focus on what I can control. Because if we live through the realities of the past, we'll create the realities of the past again. If you live too much in the future, then you lose the current moment. And so what I realized what I could control is what's around me right now. And what I could control is this trade that I'm looking at. What I can control is mark from this chart. What I can control is this. And so it's taking some time because you have to decondition the way that you've lived for 10, 15, 20 years. And it takes 63 days for something to become a neuropath. And you have to be consistent every single day. And for everyone that doesn't understand what that is, the highway in your brain has to be created that's new, and the old highway has to die. Okay.
Mhm.
So it takes 21 days to know a habit. It takes 63 days for it to become a neuropath. And so I studied all this because I got so tired of failing. I got
Yeah.
so tired of, I was like, man, I suck at this. Like, I don't understand, but you have to understand, for everybody here, you have to be aware of things, because whatever you don't reveal, you don't heal. And so the
Ooh.
discipline factor, understanding that all you have is this present moment, and all you could focus on what you can't control. So all that worrying, all that fear that you have, take is, okay, what can I create right now? Like, what can I do right now? And then to have something set on a piece of paper. One of the things that I like, somebody posted the couple of weeks ago or a couple months ago, create a done list rather than a to-do list. Okay,
Yeah.
like a done list, everything that you've done today. Because when you look at that, you're able to see whether you're going to be successful or you're not. Like, so like these are all these practices, like the stoicism and all those things I started to learn. I started to learn because I suck at it. Like, even for right now, business wise, I have a done list. I'm like, I got to talk to 150 people a day. That's just a done list. I got to do it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, don't let your weakness. Your weakness is going to be your strength, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I think the biggest thing, my biggest takeaway from that really was accept the fact that discipline is probably one of your weaknesses, and channel that, like utilize that. Don't kind of surrender to that, maybe like the habit of lack of discipline, and kind of almost be challenged by it and use that to your favor. In terms of like, all right, well, if I've been, if I haven't been disciplined for so long, then okay, cool. Like, it doesn't take that much more to even get better. And then it just kind of compounds from there. And I think there's a lot of power in kind of channeling those types of emotions. A lot of times we visualize to get things done, and sometimes we use pain. And you said something earlier. You said, sometimes you're 7 years. Can you give me that phrase again? Where you said something about like it takes 7 years. Go ahead.
Yeah, 7 days could take away 7 years of pain, or 1 day could change 7 years of pain.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
We got 2 minutes, by the way.
Awesome. Yeah, to wrap up, I think that's where I heard this a while back, and I really love it. It's like, sometimes you're waiting years and years for a moment to come, and eventually in one moment, like all the years happen. And I think that's discipline. That's discipline.
Yeah.
It's the mindset of the bamboo tree. It's apply those things. And I think if that's the foundation of what we do as traders, and you detach from, what you're getting, but you focus on what you're putting in every day, and you just let go of the timeline and the expectations from yourself and other people, I think that's when you end up doing it. I think you did a really good job kind of setting that tone. Like, you had a hot start with flipping accounts, but I think going through that and having conversations with Chris, I feel like your mindset and the overall tone was like, this is kind of what the journey looks like, and don't rush it. But Chris, man, I appreciate you. Much love to you, man. Thanks for giving us a little bit of your time. I know there's just lessons from experience, and a lot of people can't talk from experience, and you definitely have a lot of them. So I appreciate you, brother. And anyways, guys, everyone here that's plugged in, like you already know, next Monday we'll be here again, and then this recording will also be available on my YouTube in probably like a day. So much love to all you guys. Chris, again, man, thank you, bro, and I'll see you sometime in the near future.
Appreciate you for having me.
Peace out, guys.
Yeah.